Avoiding ejaculation has transitioned from an ancient spiritual discipline to a topic of widespread modern discussion. While contemporary conversations often focus on physical and mental benefits like increased testosterone or improved focus, its most profound and historically rooted promise lies in the deepening of spiritual awareness. This content will explore how this practice, when integrated with techniques like meditation and breath control, is believed to transform raw creative energy into a tool for heightened consciousness, inner peace, and self-realization. Semen retention is not merely about abstaining from ejaculation. It is about preserving and redirecting life force energy. Across many spiritual traditions, whether in ancient Taoism, Hindu yogic teachings, early Christian ascetic practices, or mystical schools, sexual energy has long been regarded as one of the most powerful energies within the human body. When conserved and channeled, this energy nourishes the mind, strengthens the spirit, and elevates consciousness. At its core, semen carries the blueprint for life. Within it exists the potential to create a human being. This is not a trivial substance. It is a concentrated form of biological intelligence and creative power. When a man continually expels this energy without intention, he may feel temporary pleasure, but he often loses something subtle yet significant: vitality. Over time, many men notice fatigue, brain fog, reduced motivation, and emotional instability. These effects are not always immediately obvious, but they accumulate gradually. Retention reverses this pattern. When a man chooses to hold his seed, the body begins to reabsorb and redistribute this powerful energy. Instead of being released outward, it is redirected inward. The nervous system stabilizes, the brain receives greater nourishment, and the entire body begins to operate with renewed strength. But the most fascinating changes occur within the mind and spirit. One of the first shifts that many practitioners notice is heightened clarity. The mental fog that once clouded decision-making begins to dissolve. Thoughts become sharper. Focus improves. Distractions lose their grip. This clarity creates space for deeper reflection, and with reflection comes awareness. Spiritual awareness begins when a person becomes conscious of their inner world. Most people live on the surface of their minds, reacting to impulses, desires, and emotions without questioning them. Semen retention interrupts this pattern. Because the practitioner is actively restraining a powerful instinct, he becomes more aware of his thoughts and urges. This awareness gradually extends into other areas of life. Instead of acting automatically, he observes. Instead of chasing every pleasure, he evaluates. Instead of reacting emotionally, he responds with intention. This shift from unconscious living to conscious living is the beginning of spiritual awakening. Another reason spiritual awareness deepens during semen retention is the increase in internal energy. Sexual energy is fundamentally creative energy. When it is not spent in physical release, it seeks other outlets. This energy may manifest as creativity, productivity, ambition, or spiritual curiosity. Many men report feeling a strong desire to read spiritual texts, meditate, pray, or explore philosophical ideas during long periods of retention. This is not a coincidence. The same force that creates life also fuels higher awareness. When directed upward instead of outward, it stimulates deeper parts of the mind. In yogic traditions, this process is often described as the rising of energy through the body's subtle channels. In Taoist philosophy, it is known as refining sexual essence into spiritual vitality. In Christian mysticism, it is expressed through the idea of purification and transformation of the flesh into spirit. Though the language differs, the principle remains the same. Conserved sexual energy elevates consciousness. Meditation becomes more powerful during semen retention. The mind becomes quieter and less scattered. Instead of battling endless distractions, the practitioner finds it easier to focus on breath, prayer, or contemplation. Inner silence becomes accessible. Within that silence, awareness expands. Many men describe experiencing stronger intuition during retention. Intuition is the quiet voice beneath the noise of daily life. When the mind is constantly overstimulated, through pornography, excessive pleasure-seeking, or emotional chaos, that voice becomes difficult to hear. But when discipline enters the picture, mental noise decreases. The intuitive mind begins to surface. Suddenly, decisions feel clearer. Situations reveal their true nature. People's intentions become easier to read. This heightened perception is part of spiritual awareness. It is not mystical in the sense of supernatural powers. Rather, it is the sharpening of the human mind when it is no longer clouded by compulsive behavior. Another important dimension of semen retention is emotional stability. Sexual overindulgence often creates cycles of excitement followed by depletion. These cycles can produce irritability, anxiety, and emotional volatility. Retention smooths these fluctuations. Energy becomes steady rather than chaotic. With greater emotional stability comes deeper self-understanding. A man begins to notice patterns in his behavior, his fears, and his motivations. He becomes more honest with himself. This honesty is a cornerstone of spiritual growth. True spirituality is not about escaping reality or adopting mystical beliefs. It is about confronting the truth of who we are. When a man practices semen retention, he cannot hide from himself as easily. The energy that once fueled distraction now illuminates his inner world. This process can be uncomfortable. Hidden insecurities may surface. Old habits may feel difficult to resist. But through persistence, the practitioner develops resilience. Discipline becomes strength. As spiritual awareness deepens, values begin to change. Many men find that their priorities shift dramatically. Activities that once seemed exciting, endless entertainment, casual hookups, mindless scrolling, lose their appeal. Instead, meaningful pursuits begin to attract attention: learning, building, serving others, and cultivating purpose. This transformation is not forced. It happens naturally because consciousness itself has changed. A man who once lived for temporary pleasure begins to live for long-term fulfillment. Relationships also evolve. When sexual energy is constantly spent, interactions with others, especially women, can become filtered through desire. This often leads to objectification or shallow connections. But during semen retention, the mind becomes less dominated by lust. This allows genuine appreciation for people as individuals. Women, in particular, may sense this difference. Many practitioners report that women feel more comfortable and safe around them. This may be because the subtle pressure of sexual expectation is no longer present. Instead, the man radiates calm confidence and grounded presence. Presence is one of the most powerful byproducts of semen retention. Presence means being fully engaged in the moment. It means listening deeply, speaking thoughtfully, and acting deliberately. In a distracted world, presence is rare. Yet it is also deeply spiritual. Many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of awareness in the present moment as the gateway to enlightenment. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and share the video. Retention naturally strengthens this ability. Because the practitioner is no longer constantly chasing stimulation, his attention returns to the here and now. Nature becomes more vivid. Conversations become more meaningful. Even simple experiences, walking, breathing, observing the sky, take on new depth. Gratitude begins to grow. Another aspect of spiritual awareness is humility. At first glance, semen retention might seem like a practice that inflates the ego. Some men may feel superior because of their discipline. However, long-term practitioners often experience the opposite effect. The deeper they go, the more they realize how much there is to learn. They see how easily the mind can fall back into old habits. They recognize the power of temptation and the importance of vigilance. This realization cultivates humility. Humility does not mean weakness. It means understanding one's place in the larger order of life. It means respecting the forces within and around us. Many spiritual teachers throughout history emphasize sexual restraint as a path to enlightenment. Monks, yogis, mystics, and saints often practice celibacy or strict moderation. They understood that sexual energy, when mastered, becomes a catalyst for transformation. This does not mean that sexuality itself is evil or shameful. On the contrary, sexuality is sacred because it carries creative power. The key is intention. When sexual energy is used unconsciously, it leads to attachment and distraction. When used consciously, it becomes a source of strength. Semen retention teaches this balance. It trains a man to respect his energy rather than waste it. Over time, the practitioner begins to feel a deeper connection with life itself. The boundaries between inner and outer experience soften. There is a sense of alignment with nature, purpose, and the flow of existence. This feeling is often described as spiritual awakening. It does not necessarily involve dramatic visions or supernatural events. Instead, it manifests as quiet certainty, inner peace, and clarity of direction. A man who once felt lost may begin to sense his path. A man who once felt restless may experience calm. A man who once chased pleasure may discover meaning. Of course, semen retention is not a magical solution to every problem. It requires patience, self-control, and perseverance. There will be moments of struggle and temptation. The modern world is filled with triggers designed to capture attention and stimulate desire. But each moment of resistance strengthens awareness. Each day of discipline builds character. Each week of retention deepens connection with the inner self. Gradually, the practitioner realizes that the true reward of semen retention is not simply increased energy or improved confidence. The real reward is consciousness itself. He becomes more aware of his thoughts, his actions, and his purpose. He becomes less controlled by impulses and more guided by wisdom. He becomes less fragmented and more whole. Spiritual awareness deepens because the mind is no longer scattered across endless distractions. It becomes centered. And in that center lies a powerful realization. The energy that creates life is also the energy that awakens the spirit. When a man learns to honor and preserve that energy, he begins to access a deeper dimension of existence. The journey of semen retention is therefore not merely about holding back. It is about rising upward, transforming instinct into awareness, desire into discipline, and energy into enlightenment. In the quiet space created by this discipline, the voice of the spirit becomes clearer. And once that voice is heard, life is never quite the same again.